is for section 4.7, nested loop. Okay, so nested loop, we are talking about a loop inside, the other loop. If you look at the figure 2, here, we have one loop, and inside, inside the first loop, we have a second loop. So we call it nested loop. So now let's look at mainly, we focus on how the nested loop runs. Then we can figure out what's the output. Okay, now let's look at page 222. If you look at the middle section, then you will find a 3-bullet list. Now we focus on the first one right now. Okay, the first bullet. The first bullet, sorry, is telling us for each iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop will go through all of its iterations. So now let's look at what that means. Okay, now I give you 2 examples. The first one is figure 1. Now let's look at the figure 1. What's the output? Okay, now let's look at it. Let's say for each iteration of the outer loop. So mainly we talk about the first for loop. Okay, we say, J, J starting at 1, and we start with the first iteration of the outer loop. When J is equal to 1, the inner loop will go through all its iterations. In another word, I will start from 1, and then let's look at the output. Okay, so the inner loop right now, only do one thing. It prints hello. So we will say the output. We will print hello. And then, now inner loop go through all its iterations. In other words, we will do I++. So I will become 2. The condition is true. So we will print second hello. Okay, when I is 3, the inner loop finishes. The condition is false. Inner loop finishes. So, and then we move to the statement after the inner loop, and then we reach to the end of the body of the outer loop. So in this case, then we go back to the outer loop. We increase the value of J by 1. So J becomes 2. And then we start with the inner loop again. So I will equal to 1 again. And when I is equal to 1, we do the same thing. We print hello. And then I increase by 1 because we need to go through all of the inner loop iterations first. Okay, so and then I becomes 2. We will print the second hello, and then the inner loop finishes. We reach to the end of the body of the outer loop. So J increase by 1 again. J becomes 3. And then we restart the inner loop again. I from 1, and from 1 to 2. Each time we will print hello. Okay, and then the inner loop finishes, and then we go back to the outer loop. J equals 4. The condition of the outer loop is false. The loop finishes. The whole nested loop finishes. So if we look at the output will be hello, hello, hello. How many we will get? 6. Okay, that's our first example. Now let's look at the second example. Now let's look at figure 2. Now let's start with the easy one first. Okay, so I change this one. I cross out outer. We start with the easy one. Okay, 5. Okay, I make it bigger. So right now, if you look at the figure 2, it is a nested loop. The outer loop goes through from 1 to 5. Each time, the inner loop will go from 1 to 5. Let's see what's the output. Okay, now let's say let's try to trace the loop. Okay, inner, and then we have the output. Okay, now in this, at the beginning, outer is 1. Okay, inner, then we start with the inner loop. Firstly, inner is equal to 1. Condition is true. So we will print, just print. Okay, 1 asterisk. Okay, then inner increase by 1. Keep this one in the mind. We need to finish all of the inner loop iterations before we move on. Okay, so all inner becomes 2, and then we will print second asterisk. Then we go back to the inner loop header again, inner increase by 1, and then we get into the body, the inner loop body. We will print 1 asterisk again, then inner increase by 1 again, then we will print the 4th asterisk. Okay, and then inner increase by 1 again. We will print the 5th asterisk. Okay, inner is 6. Condition is false. The inner loop is done. Now we move to the statement after the inner loop, but still, okay, inside the out loop body. So we will have print line. So we move to the next line. And then we continue to do something here. Okay, so we go back to the outer loop, outer loop, and then outer increase by 1 again. Outer becomes 2, and then the inner loop starts again, starts from 1 again. Okay, so inner is 1 again, and then we will print 1 asterisk. Inner increase by 1 again. We will print the second asterisk. Inner increase by 1 again. We will get the third asterisk. Inner becomes 4. We will print the fourth asterisk, and the inner becomes 5. We will print the fifth asterisk on the second line. Now the inner loop finishes again. We move to the next line. Okay, print line. We move to the next line and continue to do something. Okay, once we move to the next line, print line, okay, we go back to increase the outer by 1. Outer is 3, and then inner loop restarted from 1 to 5. So 1, the inner loop will go through all of its iterations. So inner will restart from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and each time it prints 1 asterisk. So inner loop goes 5 times. We will get 5 asterisk. Okay, outer is 4. And then we do the same thing. What we will get? Another line which has 5 asterisk. So you probably know, okay, what we will get finally. Okay, when outer is 5, we will every time the inner loop will go through all of iterations. So we will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the fifth line. When outer is 6, the loop ends. The condition is false, so the loop ends. So if we look at it, that's the output. 5 lines of asterisk, 5 lines. Each line contains 5 asterisk. Okay, now let's look at the more challenging one. Now let's go back to the outer. Let's say what's the output in this case. The outer loop doesn't change at all, but the inner loop conditions will change every time according to the value of outer. So now let's put the conditions here. Okay, the inner loop condition. Inner, okay, loop. Okay, so we will say, okay, when outer is 1, inner start with 1, ending at what? So the condition is inner less or equals what? Alter. Alter is 1. So in this case, you'll probably figure out how many times the inner loop will run. Okay, now let's look at it. Inner is 1. Condition is true, right? Equal, less equal 1. So in this case, we get into the inner loop body, we print 1 asterisk. Then inner increase by 1 again. Inner is 2. When inner is 2, the condition is false, right? Condition is false. So in other words, okay, the inner loop ends. Okay, so the inner loop ends, and then we move to the next line. Now we go back to the outer loop. Outer increase by 1 again. Now inner loop start with the 1 again. And the condition changed to inner less or equals outer, which is 2. So in this case, now the inner loop will start at 1, ending at 2. Okay, so when inner is 1, condition is true, we will print 1 asterisk, and then inner becomes 2, condition is true, we will print the second asterisk, inner becomes 3, the condition is false, the loop ends. The inner loop ends. Okay, so in this case, okay, okay, let's say we end with the inner loop, we move to the next line to continue to print. We go back to the outer loop, outer increase by 1 again, outer is 3, so inner starts at 1 again, ending at 1. Outer, so in this case, ending at 3, mainly, that's the inner loop. Okay, we say 1, 2, when inner is 2, condition is true. When inner is 3, condition is true. So every time we will print 1 asterisk. When inner is 4, the inner loop, the condition is false, the inner loop finishes. So, okay, now you probably know how many asterisks we will get when outer is 4. How many? Inner from 1, starting at 1, ending at 4. So each time we will get 1 asterisk. And then when outer is 5, the inner goes from 1 to what? 5. And each time we will get 1 asterisk. So now when outer is 6, the whole loop, the whole nested loop finishes. So that's the output. We kind of get the triangle. Okay, I let you to figure out the next challenging one. Okay, so I changed this one to 5, to outer. Okay, and then ending at 5. Now I let you to try it again to see what type of the pattern we will get. Okay, so if you have questions, let me know. Mainly I'm telling you it's a triangle, but it's upside down triangle. Okay, thank you.